Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to a pair of subscriber replays courtesy of Mac. Both of these games are going to be in the KV-1S, a machine that I sort of have and haven't featured on the channel before. I featured the old KV-1S before it got split up into two machines, so back when it was at tier 6. This is the new KV-1S, so for those who don't know, back in patch, I don't even remember what it was, the KV-1S used to be a horrendously overpowered tier 6 Soviet heavy tank. It was split up into a KV-1S, which you see here at tier 6, and the KV-85, sorry, at tier 5 I mean, and the KV-85 at tier 6. The KV-85 was kind of the spiritual successor to the tank, if you will, to the old KV-1S, but this is what you get at tier 5. Now, what is this? Well, I haven't actually played it, but it's basically, as far as I can work out, a KV-1, so that's the other tier 5, that's the edge of the Mac. So it's basically a KV-1 that trades in some of the armour for more mobility. The gun selection is to all intents and purposes the same. Mac here, you can see, is using the stubby little 122mm howitzer, and you can also see that he likes this tank because he has 2 marks of excellence on it. And that's a very unfortunate tier 4 tank destroyer. Mac took a punt at the tier 5 medium tank, the tank destroyer wasn't spotted, the guy got spotted as the shell was in mid-air, and then the shell landed on him. It was like, oh, you poor little sod. Oh well, c'est la vie. And this big fat howitzer, as all, you know, whether it's the 122mm howitzer on this tank, or whether it's the 105mm howitzers that you get on the French, American and German machines, or whether it's the 3.7-inch howitzer that the British get, all of these guns on a mobile tank at tier 5 are brutal, and the KV-1S at tier 5 is mobile. I mean, you can see here, Mac has been going around gloriously. Going around this building runs the risk of taking tank destroyer fire in the side. But yeah, that Chinukai kind of went the hell away. Now, this is of course a howitzer. You can see that Mac does carry 6 rounds of high explosive anti-tank ammunition with 370 alpha damage and 140 penetration, but all he's been using this game is the high explosive. 61 pen, 450 alpha damage, which is enough to one-shot an awful lot of tier 5 tanks. In fact, pretty much anything that isn't a tier 5 heavy tank at that tier will get a one-shot by a penetrating high explosive round from this gun. Is this overpowered? I have absolutely no idea. I haven't played it myself. But anyway, I should probably mention that Mac is of course top tier and that this is highway. Now, he hasn't taken a whole shed load of fire from that ridgeline, suggesting that you don't have a bunch of camping tank destroyers up by the enemy base, which is kind of unusual because you usually do on this map. But never mind, let's not, oh no, wait, there we go, there's a Stug. Never mind, forget what I just said. Can Mac feast on his tasty, tasty health? Ooh, nom 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 nom. Come on, XP Pinata. Where are you? Hey, look, it's a Hetzer. Oh, and he thinks he's got a big gun. That's adorable. Now, that shot didn't penetrate on the Hetzer, unfortunately, so it only shaved off 2/3 of his health, and he's now dead. And Mac did take a hit for his troubles, and that Stug is probably going to find out the hard way that these howitzers at tier 5 are a little bit stupid, I will be honest. Now, these kind of howitzer guns have been nerfed before. The heat penetration took a nerf. The 105s used to get about 150 penetration with the heat rounds. I don't know what penetration this used to get. Now the 105s get about 100 mil of pen. This gets about 140 because it's a larger gun. But yeah, these tier 5 howitzers, I do think that, well, they're a little bit over the top. Because when you compare, for example, this with a KV-2, KV-2 gets a 152mm howitzer 1 tier higher at tier 6. But to get that howitzer, it trades away literally everything else. The armour is not very good. The view range sucks. The mobility sucks. Hello, Matilda. 146. Whereas this thing doesn't really trade away everything else. It has... okay, the armour isn't necessarily fantastic, but it has enough armour to kind of get the job done. And you can see there he's bouncing some shots. And... oh, this could be messy. But these shots are just taking his track off. So it has enough armour to get the job done, and it's pretty mobile. So this tank definitely does not... And it's a similar deal with things like the Sherman and the Panzer IV with those 105mm howitzers. Those machines definitely do not trade away every other quality just to mount that gun. So you can probably make a case that these Tier 5 howitzers could require some attention on Wargaming's part, let's put it that way. Nonetheless, let's not complain and moan and whinge about that. Concentrate on the fact that Mac has gone around, derped everything in the face that he came across, and has gone up to 5 kills. Which is very nice indeed. Now, he does only have 142 health left, but he can survive 4 shots from the Matilda, or I think 2 shots from the T-34, if I remember its alpha damage correctly. Depending on what gun he's using, although if the T-34 is using the 75, now it'll still be 2 shots most of the time. So Mac does still have a shot of health in him, although these machines do get a very fast reload, both the Matilda and the T-34. Speaking of the Matilda, no! T1 Heavy claims the kill. Can Mac get his top gun? Where are you, Mr. Soviet medium tank? Where are you? There's a KV-1S who wants your face. Nom 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 nom. No, don't feed other people. That's it, run away, run toward the KV-1S. No, the KV-1S is the other way. Let's just speed this up a little bit. Anyone want to cue the Benny Hill theme? Yeah, come around the corner, mate. It's completely safe. You know, there are absolutely no problems. There is no one around here about to launch a high explosive shell into your foot. No, don't run away, you dastardly cur. Come back here and fight like a real man. And Mac doesn't even bother wasting the shot. He rams him to death, which was actually the mission that Mac was doing at the time, the heavy tank mission to ram people to death. So there we go. Mac managed to complete his ramming mission. Hurrah! Let's see how much damage he managed to inflict on the enemy team. So in addition to the heavy tank ramming mission, that was also sufficient for an ace tanker, fire for effect, duelist, hand of god, bruiser, high caliber steel wall, and top gun, which was a little bit of a mouthful and quite a nice rundown of awards to get. Mac managed to pick up 1,755 damage. Remember, this is only at tier 5. 6 kills, 1,232 base experience, easily coming at the top of either team, whether you look at damage or whether you look at experience. Commiserations to the enemy KV-1S, he racked up over 1,000 damage, but it wasn't quite enough for his team to come through to the victory. And also, congratulations to the friendly AT2, who managed 1,350 damage himself, which is quite a nice, tasty result. 11 shots fired, 9 hits, 9 penetrations, 1 splash damage with those big fat high explosive shells to pick up that damage count, most of which was at relatively close range. 19 hits received, 9 penetrations, 10 did not. The relatively high number of penetrations, considering Mac survived, is kind of due to the fact that those Matildas were plinking away at him. And some of those shots went into his tracks. The Matilda's gun, of course, has good penetration, but the alpha damage is very lacking. 520 damage blocked by armour. He spotted 4 enemy vehicles, damaged 9, killed 6, got 531 assistance damage, and with a premium account made 36,000 credit profit. Even without a premium account, that would have been just under 22,000 credits. So, however you look at that, a nice, brutal game. Let's go and have a look at the second one. Here we go, the second game. As mentioned, again, this is Mac, and again, this is in the KV-1S, and again, Mac is top tier, so perhaps expect this to be a bit of a brutal face-throbbing, but then again, maybe not. We shall see. Again, Mac is using the 122mm howitzer. This is from slightly earlier in his KV-1S playing career, as he only has a single mark of excellence rather than 2. Oh no, whatever shall we do? He's here on the name of the map that I can't remember. Sacred Valley? Is it Sacred Valley? Oh yeah, Sacred Valley. Top tier heavy tank. He is going to go, well, kind of over where, I think he's going to go kind of over where top tier heavy tanks generally tend to go, along the B line. Now this is of course an encounter game, which means that the capture circle is down south, but nonetheless. One thing I didn't mention in the last replay is how much ammo this thing carries. Good God, normally howitzers don't carry that much ammunition. He's got 54 rounds of high explosive and 6 rounds of high explosive anti-tank, so it carries 60 rounds of these 122mm shells, which is quite a lot. Now, Mac has a T-28 as support. Now, T-28, some people like it. I wasn't one of them, but some people do like it. But it's not really a frontline tank. Ditto for the Panzer 1C behind it. There is also a Churchill trundling down this road, but he is, to put it mildly, rather pedestrian. Can Mac see anything? Nope. And there's an Su-85B. Okay. T-28 has lost a third of his health, but Su-85B is looking unhealthy. T-28 is almost dead. Mac takes a hit. Gunner dies. T-28 scavenges the kill. That was perhaps a little optimistic poking out there. As it turned out, I mean, it's difficult to criticise too much, but as it turned out, that ended up being damage taken to the face for no real gain, but there we go. Lost his gunner in the process. Mac puts the gunner back in with some ninja-like medical skills from the rest of the crew. But he does now have a damaged turret. Not the biggest problem in the world, but it just means obviously the turret is traversing more slowly than it would otherwise. Still steaming around this corner, Mac is still taking point, and the Churchill is still lagging some way behind. Welcome to the world of playing British heavy tanks, at least until you get to tier 8 with the Carnarvon, when your mobility becomes a bit more impressive. Has however found artillery. Oh, this M41 is having a bad day. Or if he isn't, he's about to. Toodles! And Mac picks up the kill on that guy. I've got a review of that artillery piece, if anyone's interested. I'm not a fan. Su-85 appears to be looking in this general direction, bounces a shot on Mac, and Mac misses a shot on him. I mean, this is a howitzer. Accurate it is not. T-28 is rather optimistically sitting around there. There we go, there goes half his health. Now, despite having successfully pushed round here and the enemy team not actually having any tanks really over on this flank, Mac's team are still losing, which is a little unfortunate. This guy, the T-28, was behind cover. The cover's now been blown away, but the T-28 is still sitting there, which is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. Also worth pointing out that one of Mac's team's top tier tanks, the G1R, that's the French tier 5 medium tank, relatively recent addition to the game, he never connected. So Mac's team was effectively one top tier tank down. And whereas the previous game was kind of just a face smashing ruffle stomp through the enemy team, this is not looking quite so comfortable. KV-85, Su-85 to the left, he has been dealt with. Stug 3 up ahead, and there's also a Churchill down there. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit obsessed with these Soviet tanks, aren't I? Stug dies. Mac isn't able to get a shot on that Churchill. Mac takes another hit from someone, and there is also an enemy KV-1S away there in the background, and the enemy team are capping the base. So this is not the best situation in the world. Ooh, T1 heavy. I'm not sure if that's his front or his rear. Probably his front. There we go. Mac manages to land a nice big HE shell onto him, shaving off just over 100 of his health. Someone else picks up the kill, leaving the scoreline tied at 10 kills apiece. Now, ideally it would be great if Mac could reset the cap, but the thing is, you do want to be a little bit careful. You don't want to throw away your tank trying to do it, unless it's, you know, the situation's really desperate. Mac just about manages to find the gun depression. This is actually an interesting engagement. This is an enemy KV-1S using, I think that's the 85mm gun, which is the other gun option on this tank. Interestingly, the gun depression between these two guns is different. You get more gun depression with the howitzer. I think it's 5 degrees compared with, I believe, 3 degrees for the 85mm gun. So that guy has to come over a long way to shoot Mac, and Mac plants one shot into him. Or maybe he's not using the maybe this guy's stock. Yep, the amount he's bouncing, I assume he's stock. I don't think he'd have bounced those shots if he were using the 85mm gun. Mac aims for the lower plate, not that he really needs to. The guy was on 40 health, and Mac has large caliber HE rounds. And hello, Mr. SU-85B. How are you doing today? Ah, and there's the base reset. As you do. 3 tanks left on both teams. The friendly team have Mac, an AMX-40 and a Panzer 1C, oh dear. The enemy team have a Churchill 1, a KV-1 and a T-28. So in terms of tanks remaining, the balance is very definitely in the favour of the opposing team. And side of a Churchill, penetrating hit. Oh, that guy is not going to be a happy bunny. Friendly team do lose the AMX-40, Mac takes a hit. But this guy, well, 90 health remaining. And there goes the Panzer 1C. Mac is now alone and outnumbered by 3 to 1. Can he make it 2 to 1? I think he can. KV-1 is sniping back there from H8, H9. T-28 was last spotted at J4. So this is a slightly awkward position. Mac is outnumbered 2 to 1. Takes that blind shot on the KV. We don't know, of course, if that hit or not. Would be nice. And Mac shouldn't underestimate these two guys on the enemy team. Between them, they have 7 kills. And 4 of those are the T-28. So, despite the T-28 not always being the most popular machine, the guy who's driving it has either been rather lucky or is no slouch in that machine. So, like I said, Mac does have to be a little careful here. 8 minutes basically left on the clock. There is plenty of time. There is absolutely no pressure in order to force this and, you know, screw it up. So, take your time. Kill them one at a time. Hopefully win the game. Would be nice. So Mac has come back here. Now, there's kind of a couple of different ways of approaching this situation. You know, when you get to the end of that game and you're outnumbered, how do you deal with that? If you're in a tank with excellent camo and view range, then try and fight your opponents from a distance. Try and abuse that view range and abuse that camouflage. KV-1S has neither of those. If you're in a tank with a hilariously large gun, oh, shot missed. Then you might be able to set up an ambush and just, if people are stupid and come at you one at a time, then you can just kill them one at a time. And down here at the lower tiers, generally speaking, the standard of player is lower, simply because people are less experienced. A lot of the time. You know, they haven't played 20,000 games or whatever. However, how do you reliably deal with this situation? Well, most of the time you need to force the engagements to be one-on-one. You versus 5 or however many enemy tanks at once rarely ends well. But if you're able to take them on one at a time, then you can even the odds, rather. You just turn a 1-on-5 engagement into a series of 1-on-1 engagements, which is preferable. Mac takes a hit there. Now this is easier to do in a tank with mobility, and the KV-1S does have some mobility. Basically you can drive around, and if you can hunt down the enemy tanks, then you can force a series of 1-on-1 engagements, pick them off one at a time, like the proverbial ninja that goes around the enemy bases complex at the end of a film. Kills them off one at a time and then takes on the boss. However, that's not always as easily done as it sounds. Not that it necessarily sounds very easy. And this is a kind of awkward situation, because if Mac pokes his head out somewhere, the T-28 is likely to spot him, and the KV-1 can shoot him, and Mac is a potential one-shot for that KV-1. If the KV-1's using the 85mm gun, it gets alpha damage of 160. Mac has 164 health, so it wouldn't require a massively high damage roll for Mac to suddenly be swimming with the fishes. So this is a kind of awkward position. Now, the other option would be to run away from this engagement entirely, go backward, scoot along the one line, and try and force a series of 1-on-1 engagements. But with the KV-1S's crippling view range, Soviet mid-tier tanks do not get good view range at all. That can also be problematic. Now, the KV-1 doesn't have great view range. The T-28, I can't remember what the view range is off the top of my head, but the T-28 certainly has the mobility. T-28 is a one-shot. We don't know what health the KV-1 is on. So yeah, as I keep saying, this is a kind of awkward situation. And I don't honestly know how I would approach this. I would probably try and completely relocate and come at them from a different direction and just hope that they didn't try and cap this one out. Oh good lord, the KV-1 is on full health. And Mac misses that shot, but so far the KV-1 has got 3 hits into him and managed to flub every single shot. It appears these guys are not being very successful at range, and it looks like the KV-1 is not using the top gun. The rate of fire feels too fast. He might be using the 57mm gun, which still has more than enough penetration to give Mac a headache. There we go. 2 health remaining. Mac takes out the T28. And that just leaves this KV-1. Or is the KV-1 using the stock gun? Because the T28, if the KV-1 was using the 57mm gun, the T28 has a very similar weapon. And the T28 has been penetrating Mac without many problems. So this might actually be the stock gun on the KV-1. If it is the stock gun on the KV-1, my heart goes out to him. Commiserations, because that gun is absolutely woeful. I think that's the stock gun with that number of bounces. That was a top gun for Mac, by the way. And so now with Mac... with Mac on 2 health, he blind fires the KV-1's location, and sometime later gets the kill message that he nailed the guy. So he managed to set the chap on fire, and the KV-1 burned to death. So Mac got a little bit lucky toward the end, with the KV-1 basically having the stock gun and then catching fire. But in these sort of situations where you're outnumbered, you kind of often need a little bit of luck to pull the win out of the bag. So yeah, I'm not trying to take anything away from the result by saying that, but let's just go and see what that result actually ended up as. Perhaps unsurprisingly, that was an ace tanker game. Fire for effect, arsonist for burning someone to death, unbreakable or whatever it's called, bruiser, Spartan, steel wall, high caliber, and top gun. 2,385 damage. Remember, this is a tier 5 machine. 7 kills, 1,488 base experience. That was a bit of a carry. Now, bearing in mind this is a howitzer with not a particularly quick reload time, 23 shots fired, of which 16 hits, 16 pens, but bearing in mind that's going to include things like blowing the tracks off to get that damage count, most of which was at relatively close range. 20 hits received, 1,300 damage blocked by armor, 8 enemy vehicles damaged, 7 destroyed, 360 assistance damage, 53 base defense points, and 24,000 credit profit, 40.5 if he had been running a premium account. So a very impressive display from Mac there. If you guys enjoyed that pair of games, then please feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.